So Saturday night's main event is done with. I didn't even take notes during this. I'm just gonna go off the top of my head and do my review because overall, I don't think anything would change no matter how many notes. There wasn't really many notes to take, if anything. Usually when I do my reviews and whatnot, I take notes and all that. But I'm gonna stop saying the word note. I'm probably gonna add a note counter somewhere and, and count how many times I done said the word. No, forget it. Let's just get into the review. So overall, before I get into the detailed descriptions of whatnot, Saturday night's main event was pretty okay. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was great. It was okay. My biggest issue with this was that nothing changed. I think when you have not a PLE, because this really isn't a PLE, but when you have an event like Saturday night's main event, you want to make sure that you have changes, that you give your consistent fans, your casual fans, something to go back to, and you give these new fans who are just now watching wrestling or getting back into it, perhaps, you give them something to be intrigued for. So you want to have a decent mixture of story. You want to treat it like a PLE. It's not a PLE, but you want to treat it like a PLE, and perhaps you might want to take some of these big stars out of it. As weird as that sounds, I'll get into why later on. But let's start off with the first match, which was Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley. This overall was a decent match. You'll hear this throughout the rest of this review. Really, if we're being honest, I can end all the reviews by saying these are all decent to actually pretty good matches. The match quality is not what lacked at all throughout this PLE. I did think that what match in particular, I think Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman wasn't mediocre, but it was really the ending that dealt with that. But we'll get match by match. Let's go match by match. So, Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax. Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax. It started off with Nia Jax headbutting Rhea Ripley, mid announcements by Lily Garcia, introductions or whatnot, saying the challengers, the weight, all that. So Lillian Garcia is doing her job, and Nia Jax interrupts her and headbutts Rhea Ripley, and the match starts from there. And it was a pretty decent back and forth match. They wrestled. They did a pretty good job doing their job, and that's really all I wanted from this match. You don't expect Rhea Ripley to lose because she's only had the title for what, like not even like a month. So Rhea Ripley just wins back her title on the Raw Netflix debut. I don't expect her to lose her first feud back. I expect them to build her up a feud for Mania, whatnot. The next match was Sheamus Braun Breaker, I believe. And again, I don't expect Braun Breaker to lose to Sheamus at Saturday night's main event, even though it would have shook some stuff up. This is what I want to talk about. Now, even though I didn't expect them to change a title change at Saturday night's main event with Sheamus, I wouldn't have minded. The reason why I wouldn't have minded is because I kind of want Saturday night's main event to, not even kind of, I think it should have title changes on there. I want it to be done with that unsuspected surprise where we get a random title change or whatnot. Because when you have your Raws and your SmackDowns, at this point we don't expect big stuff to happen. Of course, we had the Tiffany Stratton cash-in, but that's really it. The past few years, nothing really big has happened on a Raw or a SmackDown when it comes to the championships. And I want that to change. And I think what better way to change that into something old that you're reintroducing and repackaging in this new program, in this new era. And I think you can do that with Saturday night's main event by having mid-card titles, even if you don't want to pull the trigger on the big ones, that's fine. But when you have mid-card titles switch hands, to me, that fits perfectly. I don't see an issue with that. However, nothing changes here, of course. We get Braun Breaker versus Sheamus. They put on a great match. I actually really enjoyed this match. It was very entertaining. The spot with the spear when Sheamus is going off the steel steps, it was amazing. But again, the result remained the same. Braun Breaker retains. We knew this was going to happen. I don't see Sheamus winning a belt unless it's at a WrestleMania or even a SummerSlam. One of the big four maybe, or even just one of the bigger ones like an Elimination Chamber, maybe a Money in the Bank, but just not at a Saturday night main event, which I don't want to be the case. I think if anything, I can understand the world titles changing hands on PLEs, even though we did come from an era where they were able to change on Raw or SmackDown. I feel like having mid-card titles switch hands on a Saturday night's main event or even a Raw or SmackDown is not a bad decision. They need to do that more often. After this, we had our segment with Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. And me personally, I wasn't really a fan of this segment at all. I know people are going to say Cody Rhodes cut a good promo, which he cut a very okay promo. I think it was good for what it needed. However, it was the same thing we heard before. I don't get what was so special about it. I don't think we need this segment. I feel like this segment was filler. It doesn't make me more hyped for Cody versus Kevin Owens. And if they're just going to have segments on SmackDown and Raw anyways, was there at any point of having the contract setting at Saturday Night Main Event? I mean, I guess to bring viewership, sure. Having the name Cody Rhodes there might draw in some people to actually tune in and see what's going to happen between him and KO with Shawn Michaels in the middle. Again, Shawn Michaels is the biggest name in there, so to throw Shawn Michaels in the middle of that is big. But this is literally the same exact thing that we saw the past few weeks, just with Shawn Michaels inserted into it. And Shawn Michaels really didn't say anything besides getting the contract signed, which he didn't need to. But we're getting to a point where just recycling every single thing that we hear. Kevin Owens is low-key jealous of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes hurt Kevin Owens' feelings. And Cody Rhodes gets all angry and mad at Kevin Owens and says enough. He already cut the exact same promo he cut tonight a few weeks ago. It's rinse and repeat. I don't think we need another segment between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens unless they are actually going to fight or brawl or do something impactful or even a Randy Orton appearance. I think this was the perfect time for that, but I digress. This was an okay segment. Let's move on. So next up, we get Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman, and this match was actually, in my opinion, the worst match of the night in terms of match quality, but definitely the most OMG moment of the night with what happened after. We get a series of the backside to the head on the turnbuckle from Jacob Fatu to Braun Strowman, and the ref ends up telling Jacob Fatu to chill out and stop. He ends up beating the ref up and throwing him outside the ring. The ref calls for the bell, and that doesn't stop the ref from getting beat up, but it definitely doesn't stop the assault onto Braun Strowman, and we get a bloody Braun Strowman with Nick Aldis and company trying to break it up. I think this was good. I think this was great. I didn't expect a 5-star match out of Jacob Fatu like some people did. What I did expect was a beatdown and ruthlessness, and that's all I wanted. I don't expect Jacob Fatu to be anybody competing for a world title like some other people might seem. I don't think he's talented enough for that, but I do expect him to bring dominance and gruesome into these mid-card or upper-card feuds. That's what I expect for Jacob Fatu, and I think the way that I pictured what we saw last night or tonight on Saturday Night's Main Event, I think I'm probably right in terms of that's what he's going to bring to the table. And last but not least, we have Jay versus Gunther. Now, this is where I want to start kind of talking about my recap of the entire night. Because Jay versus Gunther basically it's a pretty decent match. Gunther retains off of being able to tank a bunch of spears and super kicks from Jay. He actually just pops right back up and power bombs Jay twice, and he wins. So that's literally the summary of the match. Besides it actually being pretty decent in ring, there was nothing spectacular, nothing 5-star, but definitely like 3.5 to 4-star matches all across the board. The in-ring quality was not the issue. The issue is that Saturday Night Main Event is pointless. It brings no change, and if titles aren't going to change and you aren't going to put impactful stuff onto the cards, then there's literally no point of this PLE, whatever you want to call it. There's no point of the event, because Saturday Night Main Event is supposed to be, or it should feel like, a very, very special episode of your normal Raw or SmackDown, but it doesn't. It feels like I'm getting SmackDown and Raw light. It feels like I'm getting SmackDown and Raw without the storytelling and with worse promo work with better match quality. And if you know wrestling, if you're being honest, or at least WWE, of course, that in-ring quality is the last thing of importance, because you have to be able to be charismatic on the mic. You have to be able to draw money. You have to have some type of superstardom or something that you carry with yourself besides just your in-ring package. We've seen people like Ricochet who have been signed off into different companies, and we've seen people like Shinsuke Nakamura just fall down in the rankings like he is right now, even with the U.S. title, because they only rely on their in-ring ability. With that being said, I really don't see the point of having a Saturday Night Main Event be this big deal and this big spectacle if you're not going to add in any in-ring storytelling, set up any feuds, have any title changes. When I think of Saturday Night Main Event, I want something to come out of this that's greater than Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. That's what I expect. because you can't make it this big spectacle. And if you are going to make it this super in-ring spectacle, have it to where the mid-card develops. Have it to where you put those guys like the Street Profits. You put those guys like I'm not for sure, like Ilya Dragunov when he comes back. Even when Ricochet was here, your Shinsuke Nakamura's, your guys who are really good in ring. If you want this to be your in-ring spectacle, then you put those guys in the mid-card who you know are really good in the ring, and you let them work. It may be like 1 or 2 matches with your main event guys, and that's it. If that is the case, if you want to build up feuds for the mid-card, give people reasons to watch Saturday Night Main Event. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to have a bunch of, this time, even though last time I think the in-ring quality was much worse, this time Saturday Night Main Event, the in-ring quality was pretty solid. However, when it comes to everything that happens afterward, it changes absolutely nothing. And that's just me personally. I don't like it. Let me know what you guys thought about Saturday Night's Main Event. I think it needs change. I think we need to start actually having titles change, even mid-card titles change on Raw or SmackDown. If they aren't changing on Raw or SmackDown, let them change on Saturday Night's Main Event. With that being said, I'm Reese Talks Wrestling. Thank y'all so much for watching. We will see y'all next time.